Manipulations, clerical errors, and downright lies were exacerbated by war and devastation. Although assumptions have been made, I've done my utmost to adhere to historical accuracy. Of course, all the main players are now gone, though I'm sure they would have denied everything, just as they did at the time. This story is drawn from a wide variety of sources, primary and secondary. As we are now 3/4 of a century distant from the finale of the events in this book, primary sources are difficult. Fortunately, some people who lived through those times still remain with us, while others told their stories to their children and grandchildren. I trawled through a large range of secondary sources, including the archives of the Shanghai Municipal Police and the Shanghai Special Branch, the annual reports of the Shanghai Municipal Council, the archives of the British and American consulates, the records of the United States Court for China at Shanghai, and the archives of the United States Marine Corps. I also drew upon the China Coast newspapers and periodicals of the time, especially the China Weekly Review, the China Press, North China Daily News, the Shanghai Times, the Shopping News, the Peking and Tianjin Times, and Walla Walla, the magazine of the US 4th Marines in Shanghai. The excerpts from Shopping News that appear in the text are genuine historical articles from the publication, with one or two minor additions in the interest of advancing the narrative. I have tried to recreate the linguistic Tower of Babel that was the treaty port of Shanghai between the world wars. As well as English, in its British, Irish, American and Australian variants, other commonly spoken languages were Yiddish, German, Russian, Portuguese, French, Italian and Spanish, as well as Tagalog, Korean and Japanese. Shanghai was also, of course, a melting pot of Chinese dialects, Mandarin Pekingese dialect and Cantonese, as well as obviously the local Shanghainese dialect. I have used the Reverend Donald McGillivray's A Mandarin Romanized Dictionary of Chinese, the 8th edition from 1930, to standardise the Wade-Giles system of romanization. That said, there is no definitive answer to most of these romanizations. It's worth noting that most slang, curses, racial epithets and colloquial words and terms used are specific to the time and place, and may, if not viewed in the context of the period and place, trouble modern sensibilities. Throughout, I have sought to use those words and phrases most commonly noted in memoirs and newspapers of the time. Many are now deemed offensive, and I have no desire to revive them except in the interest of historical accuracy. Between the wars, Shanghai was certainly highly cosmopolitan, but it was in many ways both formal and informal, segregated between the Chinese and the foreigners. At times, the two communities interacted and overlapped. This went for the respective criminal minority as well as the law-abiding majority of the city's populace. But for most of the characters in this book, Shanghai was a Chinese city where they invariably worked, played and committed criminal acts largely with other foreigners. At a time of ever-escalating inflation in Shanghai in the late 1930s and early 1940s, calculating any prices in the text into today's money is problematic. Shanghai used multiple currencies and did business in anything considered reliable, from gold bullion to Indian rupees. The Mexican silver dollar was the most trusted currency during the time of the Shanghai Badlands and was imported in great volume. The Bank of China issued Chinese $1, $5, $10, $50 and $100 notes, though inflation made these problematic, as did rampant forgery. Coiners also put out fake coppers. 300 real ones equaled $1 silver dollar. As a rough guide, Shanghai Mexican silver dollar amounts can be multiplied by 6 for an approximate equivalent US dollar sum in 2017.
Introduction. Shanghai was a prize won after victory in an Opium War, a war waged by Great Britain to open China to a drug that caused pain, waste and death in the Middle Kingdom, while enriching the Western nations. The foreigners claimed Shanghai as part of the victory terms, cauterised it from the rest of China by a most unequal treaty signed in the face of British gunboats. And so a strange urban aberration grew up on the banks of the Huangpu River, close to the mouth of the Yangtze River, gateway to the vast Chinese hinterlands. The foreigners who came to build the city described Shanghai as a shining light, an example to the heathen darkness of China of the benefits of free trade and modernity.